everybody, welcome back. It's week number 6 in the NFL. We're picking winners with the Cheezeman. NFL Survivor style. We got our picks for you. How'd you do last week? Oh, man. Remember what I said? About a year ago, Justin Fields and the Bears had a great game. They were about a 10 or 11 point dog against New England. They came into town on a Monday night game. I think it was a Monday or Sunday night game. Justin Fields plays great, and the Bears destroyed the Patriots as a huge dog. And I said, please don't do that to me here on Thursday night. And they did. They crushed Washington. It was interesting to see. Early in the season, we saw the Bears were not using Fields as a running instrument like they should be, and they were just awful on offense. Clearly, they were using him in more designed running plays, and it worked a lot better. DJ Moore, obviously, Washington forgot to even locate this guy in the field, let alone tackle him. And he had a monstrous game. So you can see there, I had two winners. Miami and Detroit, they both won fairly easily. And then Washington, of course, they were the two biggest favorites on the board. And they were the two biggest favorites in Survivor last week. Washington, a big loser. That stinks. And my top 5 plays, not that good. Probably our worst week of the year. Now in the top 5, we go 3-2. You can see Miami team total over 30.5 against the Giants. Squeaked over. Derrick Henry rushing. That one was a bust. Washington, Chicago over hit easily. New England, New Orleans under hits easily. But if you had said to me, New Orleans is going to score 34 points, the game's going to go under, I'd have said, no freaking way. I would have taken that bet to go over. Unbelievable. New England averaging 11 points a game this year. Just ridiculous. Stafford's passing over, misses for the first time this year. Oh, well, on the bonus side, you can see Philly first quarter loses, Philly first half wins. Jimmy Connor, oh my God, 16.5 rushing yards. He has 6 carries for 46 yards in the second quarter and gets injured. He's going to be out for a bit here. He was on his way to easily shatter it, but that's a loser. Pittsburgh, Baltimore under. We had that one. That was an easy under. That's like 6 in a row unders for that series. Pukanuka, easily over his receiving yards total, even with Cooper Kupp back. I like that total there, 61.5. But the Mr. Robinson parlay was a train wreck. Oh my gosh. Started off Thursday night with Brian Robinson. Of course, Washington gets behind early, and now they're not going to run the ball as much, so he was a bust. And then Bijan, I don't know what's going on there. Algier had more carries and opportunities than Bijan did. So both go under individually, and then obviously the parlay was go reverse parlay with me next time. Every time I say parlay, go reverse parlay. Here's a review of the primary pool. 1,791 entries, 424 remain. Almost 100 go out last week. About 18%. Top win choices, you can see Miami, Detroit clearly, and then a bunch of lower ones. Top loss choices, Washington, and then Buffalo and Baltimore. I warned you guys on both of those, right? So sometimes I'm right, and sometimes I'm wrong. Obviously, I was wrong in Washington. I warned people on Buffalo going over to London to play Jacksonville, who had been sitting there for a week, and it bit Buffalo, especially coming off a huge rivalry win. And then Baltimore, I said, Baltimore-Pittsburgh, I go, don't expect Baltimore to look as good as they did the previous week. Don't expect Pittsburgh to look as bad as they did the previous week, and look what happened. And Pittsburgh ends up beating them. Anyways, mid-year Survivor pool is coming up. If you want to get in, I can get you the information, rules, how to play, and join. Just hit me in the comments. I need an email address to send to you, and we'll get that over to you, all right? Looking at our NFL Survivor metrics, you can see here, home teams are still under 500. Favorites are still not doing that well. Home favorites in particular. Away favorites are getting it done. That's the side to be playing. Thursday night favorites fall under 65% for the first time in 3 years, really, with that loss by Washington. Top 5 Survivor pool choices took a hit, 2 and 3. That's bad. Looking against the spread, you can see once again, still same stuff. Home teams and home favorites not doing well at all. Favorites overall are doing pretty good. But the away favorites are getting it done. Over 60%, that's crazy. So you should be playing away favorites. And then the over-under is still well to the side of the under at 56% the under, 44% the over. Our 6-point favorites straight up are 17-4. That's outstanding, really. Look down below there. You could see last year through week 5 on the bottom line, we were 14-10 at this point. The other note here is we're only at 0.8 upsets per week right now. Normally we have 1.25. So again, we're still very much due for more upsets here. And I'm going to show you right now with our schedule. Take a look here. We've got 6 favorites of 6 points and higher this week. I'm going to say at least 1 gets beat, if not 2. So this is a scary kind of week here. We start off Thursday, Kansas City at home to Denver as a 10.5 point favorite. I'm going to give you a little note here. Kansas City's beaten Denver 15 straight times. 15 straight. You've got San Francisco giving a touchdown to Cleveland. The Rams giving a touchdown to Arizona. Philly's giving a touchdown to the Jets. Miami is a huge favorite on Carolina. Buffalo is a huge favorite on the Giants. Let's take a look real quick. Our home and away favorites. This is straight up using our point spread information. And you can see the home favorites are just not getting it, especially in that 3.5 to 5.5 zone. They're awful. They're doing well at the top end, right? 6 points and higher. Away favorites are great from 0 to 5.5 points right now. Actually, 0 to 9.5 points. So the away favorites are the way to play right now. Against the spread, it's the same situation, really. The home favorites are just awful right now, especially from 0 to 5.5 points. And then the away favorites are getting it done. They have great numbers down from 0 to 5.5 points. So just be aware right now. Will those revert back to where they should be? Probably at some point during the year. Could happen slowly, could happen 1 week. But right now, it's been this way pretty solidly all year long. All right, let's see who our 5 worst teams are right now. Carolina moves into the number 1 slot, 0-5, and now we're starting to ask, can they win a game? We were asking that about the Bears last week. You know, the Bears own their own first-round draft pick, and I believe they own Carolina's first-round draft pick this year. So the Bears could try to get the top 2 picks and screw that up. Just kidding. You know, one thing I've noticed, when I rip on a team, that's when they kick me in the head, man. Instant karma, right? Last week, I ripped on the Bears, and they beat me. A few weeks back, I ripped on Houston, and they beat me. So, whoever I rip on the most today, pick them. Arizona, 3rd. Giants move in our top 5 worst. They might be the worst. Good God. Denver is in the top 5 worst. Las Vegas drops out. Top 5 offenses and defense. Remember we talked about last week Miami. They were at 550 a few weeks ago. And it's very hard to stay up there. Because even if you get 400 yards a game, that's a lot in the NFL. And your average is going to come down. But we said, you know, Miami's at like 511 last week. And we said they'll probably stay up there. And they did, 513. Now they get Carolina coming in. I have a feeling they're going to stay over 500 yards still. Philly moves up to number 2. San Francisco, Brock Purdy. Check out those 2 teams. Jalen Hurts, 16-1 in regular season starts. Brock Purdy, I think he's 9-0 now, undefeated in regular season starts. Those 2 teams are machines. Buffalo and the Chargers are up there. Miami's still the top pass and rush offense. On defense, Cleveland had a bye, so they remain as the top defense in the league. Baltimore was up to 2nd, San Francisco 3rd, despite playing a good Dallas team. New Orleans is now 4th. Of course, New England can't seem to score, so... And then Dallas is now in 5th, top pass defense. Cleveland, top rush defense. Philly. Cleveland is definitely going to be challenged this week against San Francisco. Let's get into this. Who are our teams in play? Number 1 is going to be Miami. Of course. I mean, Carolina's 0-5. Miami's offense simply can't be something. Now, I know, is it Devin or Devon A-Chain? The guy's been sensational. The one thing I said to a friend of mine before the season started was I said he's too small to be an every down back. He's liable to get hurt. But he is a strong kid, man. But he did get injured that game. We're not sure if he's going to play. He's listed as doubtful. Still, Miami should have no problem romping in this game. Buffalo at home against the Giants. Now, the Giants are giving up nearly 30 points a game. We took the Miami total over last week at 30.5. You know, I'm not going to change my mind here. Buffalo comes in averaging 32 points a game. Team total over is 29.5. I'm going for it. I haven't seen any reason why the Giants would stop a team like Buffalo. I hope they don't overlook the Giants. Buffalo does have a tendency to do that. So be warned. I just kind of doubt it's going to happen here after a loss like that. Number 3, Kansas City. I told you about this one. The Chiefs have beaten Denver 15 straight times. In the last 4 times these teams have met, all 4 games have gone 51 points or higher. The OU is currently only 47. Okay? I'm kind of leaning over on this thing. All 4 of those games, Kansas City won the game. All 4 of those games, Denver covered. So we got a lot of 4-game streaks going on right now. Jacksonville home against Indianapolis. Now, Jacksonville's only a 4-point favorite. They come back from London. They've been there for 2 weeks, so their bodies are they're probably used to London time now. They may, feel a little wanky coming home here. Jacksonville pummeled Indy in week 1 this year in Indy, 31-21. Jacksonville has beaten Indianapolis in Jacksonville 8 straight times. Indy is a bottom 5 defense, a bottom 5 passing defense. I know Houston went into Jacksonville and just crushed them. That was bizarre. But, Houston does have a decent pass defense, and Houston can score. They're now a top 5 offense, passing offense. And Indy's not quite as good. Now, what's crazy is Zach Moss has been sensational the last few weeks running the football, but Jacksonville is a top 5 rushing defense now. So if they take Moss and Taylor away running the ball, it leaves you at Minshew in the offense throwing it around. This game could easily hit the over, but I'm going to stick with Jacksonville. I think they handle this game pretty easily, and I'm keeping them in play. Arizona at the Rams. Now, actually, this is my number 4. I went out of order. Jacksonville's my number 5. I love the Rams this week. The Rams struggled last week passing the football for the first game this year. I mean, they still threw it around pretty good. Kupp and Pukanuka had a great game. But Matt Stafford went under his passing yards for the first time this season. But Philadelphia's defense is a little bit different than Arizona's. And Philadelphia also shuts down the run, the number 1 rush defense. Arizona's rush defense is not that good. Their pass defense is bottom 5 in the league. They're bottom 7 overall defensively. And the Rams are a top 5 passing offense. And with Kupp back, he seemed to get right back into it. I feel like the Rams this week should get it right. Arizona loses James Conner. That's going to hurt them. So I like the Rams to go and get this one, and I'm probably playing him in Survivor this week. Now, in the in-play, non-playoff options, I put them at number 6, too. I think Las Vegas, you have to look at. First of all, they're at home. There's a lot of reasons here. Number 1, they're at home. They come off a Monday night victory over Green Bay, who's probably better than New England. New England's averaging 11 points a game. They can't score right now. They cannot score. Now, I know they've played some decent defenses, but 11 points a game? Shut out at home to New Orleans? I mean, you got to score some points, don't you? This is a nightmare for Bill Belichick. One other note here, Josh McDaniels is 2-0 against his former mentor, Bill Belichick. The maybes, I don't want to say Cincinnati's on track now that they beat Arizona, but we talked about this early in the season. Last year, Joe Burrow took several games to get going. He had that his appendix out. Took a while to get going. This year, he had an injury preseason. It's taken a while to get going. Last week, he looked a lot better. Of course, you always can improve against an Arizona defense. Okay, there's something here I want to show you, though. Cincinnati, in the last 2 years, is 11-2 against everybody that's not in the AFC North. 11-2. They're 3-5 against AFC North opponents. Here comes a non-AFC North opponent coming into their town. Cincinnati handled both the Rams and Arizona from the NFC West. Seattle comes in off of a bye. Now, they're only 2-5 in their last 7 games off a bye. This should be a pretty good game, but I feel like Cincinnati's starting to ramp up. And if they are, Cincinnati's a better football team than Seattle overall, and I think they will win this game. Number 8. We've got down Baltimore at Tennessee now. Here's something bizarre, right? But Baltimore looked awful last week. Just awful. And 2 weeks ago, they looked fantastic. Tennessee this year, right? Note this. Game 1, they lose on the road. Game 2, they come home as a dog and win. Game 3, they lose on the road and they got killed. Game 4, they come home as a dog and win. Game 5 last week, they lose. Game 6, they come home as a dog. You see what I'm saying? There's kind of a pattern here. You like Baltimore coming in off a loss to get things right again and probably play much better than they did last week. But, man, Tennessee at home has been pretty decent this year, especially as a dog. So I'm not touching it. Number 9, Philly at the Jets. Now, a lot of you will go, well, come on, Philly's going to destroy them. And think about this. A couple of weeks ago, I go, man, Philly was fantastic. And then they almost blew the game to Washington. And now I want to say last week, Philly was fantastic. I mean, that was their best defensive game all year, in particular against the pass. Against a good Rams offense. They look fantastic. Now watch what happens this week, The Jets defense is still pretty good. We'll see what happens here with Zach Wilson. I don't know. He could have a tough time if Philly's pass defense is starting to come around, and it seems like it is. Philly should win this game pretty easily. New Orleans at number 10. Now, last week New Orleans played New England, has one of the worst passing offenses in all of football. Houston right now is the third best passing offense in the league. C.J. Stroud has been phenomenal. Their receivers are rock solid. Dameon Pierce is running the ball. Houston's going to score some points on New Orleans this week. I would take New Orleans, but every time I go against Houston, I lose. Number 11, Atlanta at home. Now, Atlanta at home is 3-0. Atlanta on the road, 0-2. They play Washington, who stunk last week. You would imagine Washington with a couple extra days to stew over that horrible loss would come out raring to go. I don't know. I would probably play Atlanta here. Number 12, San Francisco. Now, here's the thing here. If Deshaun Watson's playing, and right now he's not practicing, so I'm assuming he's not going to play. If he plays, this is a way trap game for San Francisco. You come off a 42-10 bombardment over a huge conference rival, right? You're jacked up, and now you're going to go on the road to play Cleveland. Cleveland's coming off a bye. If Deshaun Watson doesn't play, turn the lights out, you could probably put San Francisco up to in play. The riskies, I'm not touching Minnesota. The thing about Minnesota is Justin Jefferson's not playing. However, they're probably the one team in football that can lose the best receiver in the league and still be pretty darn good offensively from a throwing standpoint. I mean, you got Jordan Anderson. The rookie looks good, and now he's going to get more looks. KJ Osborne is way underrated. And then TJ Hawkinson clearly is one of the best catching tight ends in the entire league. So I expect Cousins to come out flinging it. The Bears' rush defense is actually nearing a top 10 rush defense, so you're going to have to throw on them. I wouldn't touch this game. I think the Bears can win this one. Dallas and the Chargers. Now, just something to note, the Chargers are one of the worst teams in the league off a bye. Leave it to Brandon Staley. That kind of is scary. Eckler should be back. That's huge for them. Dallas coming in off of just a huge disappointment. One of their worst games they played in 5 years. I imagine they bounce back and play a lot better this week. Detroit at Tampa Bay. Now, this is the weirdest thing I've ever had to say. At this point, if I look preseason, I would have said, this should be an offensive shootout. But both of these teams are among the top teams defensively in the league. Tampa's only given up 16 points a game. Detroit's only given up like 20. I kind of think this game's going under. Now, Tampa gets Mike Evans. He is playing. Amon-Ra St. Brown should be playing. So we should see teams at almost full strength. I don't know if Jahmyr Gibbs is playing or not for Detroit. Now, let's look at this. Fun with math last week. I want to show you something. I really didn't get into it last week, what I was doing. But when I started this exercise, it was just a joke. And I'm going, all right, Dallas and San Francisco both played Arizona, right? Dallas lost by 12. San Francisco won by 19. So that's 31-point differential. San Francisco going to win 41-10. Somebody said to me, they go, both teams played the Giants too. You got to factor that in. So that's what I did down below, right? I put, okay, Dallas gets a plus 40. San Francisco only gets plus 18. All right, so now it's going to be 26-17. Had I just stayed with my real data, we almost hit it on the number, 41-10. So how exciting would that have been? Oh, well, that's how it goes. All right, dog report real quick. Here's in blue. The dogs that I think have the best chance to win is, 33% of dogs win. You can see that from the home dogs. Kind of give Tennessee a shot. I like Chicago. I think Houston has a shot here. Detroit, Jared Goff doesn't play as well outside of domes and certainly not down in hot weather. On the road side, you got to give Seattle a chance. Let's get into my picks in the primary pool. This is a little risky. I'm right now going Jacksonville and the LA Rams. With only 2 teams left, I don't know if I want to be that risky. Neither of these teams are that great. The Rams are probably not a playoff team. Jacksonville has shown signs that they may not be one. They just play in a lousy conference. But I'm probably going to stick with them. However, you can see down below there, if I switch, Kansas City beating Denver 15 straight and Thursday night needs a win, I'd probably flip Kansas City in for Jacksonville, okay? Or what I would do is you see down below there, I would take my Rams pick, flip it over into team 2, and then take Buffalo over in team 5. Those are probably the options I have. I have to figure it out before Thursday night. Most likely I'm going to stick with Jacksonville, the Rams, and sit around and just hope and pray. As you know, home teams from 0 to 6-point favorites, 0 to 5.5, have been lousy this year, and Jacksonville right now is a 4-point favorite. So that scares me. Team records against the spread here before we get into our top 5 plays. You can see Miami is great. San Francisco, Detroit 4-1. Tampa, Seattle 3-1. Detroit 4-1 plays Tampa 3-1. That'll be interesting. Over on the losing side, the Giants are 0-5. Denver and Carolina 0-4-1. Miami's 4-1. Carolina's 0-4-1. Kind of think of Miami. I don't see how teams can keep up with that offense. You can see the other ones: New England, Atlanta, New Orleans, Minnesota. Minnesota's 1-3-1. Chicago's 1-3-1. They're going to do battle. On the over-under side, see, Chicago's 5-0. And I've said it every week this year. From day one, when they had that low total in the Green Bay-Chicago game at like 43, so I'm taking the over. And that hit over easily. In other games too, I'm taking the Chicago over. I took them last week. The line keeps moving down every week, and I keep taking the over and it hits. But this week, it started at 46. It's going down. I think it's 44.5 now. And I think it's because Justin Jefferson's out. I don't care. These two teams are going to score, and it's going over. Unless there's weather, going over. We only have 12 teams over 500 to the over. On the underside, New Orleans is 5-0 to the under. New England's 4-1 to the under there. They played last week, and that was pretty easy. Baltimore and Pittsburgh both heavy to the under. They played last week. This week, Tennessee's playing Baltimore. They're both 4-1. You would think under in that game, right? Probably. But New Orleans is playing Houston, and that's where I just have a gut feeling. I think New Orleans gets their first over of the year. Here's our top 5 plays last week. Let's not be reminded. But this week, here's what we're looking at. Minnesota, Chicago over. We are taking that one as we just discussed. I like Kirk Cousins to go over his passing total. Obviously you wish Justin Jefferson was the game, but he still has a lot of weapons on that team. And Chicago's using Fields the correct way, and I think they're going to score some points. I like the over here. I like Cousins to get over his pass yards. Miami team total over. I mean, it's Carolina now, the worst team in the league. And Miami just doesn't seem to be able to be stopped. I'm rolling with it. Rams over 27.5. I don't like that hook, but I'm going to do it. I feel like Arizona can score some points on the Rams. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Matthew Stafford, even Kyra Williams should have fun this week and roll up some yardage and points. I like Puka. Now, with individuals, Cousins, I saw his for sure. But with individuals, I need to see their totals. I have not seen Puka's yet, or Cooper Kupp's. I'm assuming Kupp's is going to be over 100 yards or close, and Puka's should stay down in the 70s, I hope. But if it's not, then I may look a different direction there. This is the same for the other individuals on the right side. On the bonus side, I like the New England, Las Vegas under 41.5. Las Vegas can't seem to score, and New England, we know, can't score. Kyra Williams over 16.5 rushing yards. I like that. Arizona's defense hasn't stopped anybody. Seattle, Cincinnati over 45. I'm going here. I think Burrow's got it going now. And he's done really well against non-AFC North teams and putting up points. And I think they'll continue. And Seattle can score. They have good offense. Jacksonville receiver over. I was leaning Ridley, but then I thought, I like Kirk and I like Zay Jones too. So I need to see all three of them, what they look like. You're going against an Indianapolis defense that can't stop anyone. Jacksonville put 31 on them in Indy early in the season. If Ridley's is up around 80 and Kirk's is in the 50s or 60s, then I may lean towards Zay Jones if he's down in the 40s, But I'll look at one of those guys and play one of them. I will take a Minnesota receiver over, most likely KJ Osborne. I think Addison will be the guy who has a higher number. Hawkinson's number will be a bit inflated. And KJ Osborne's a good receiver. Buffalo team total over 29.5 against the Giants. The Giants give up 30 points a game. Buffalo's averaging 32. The only thing that scares me here, and it does concern me, is the Giants haven't scored at all. If Buffalo gets up 24-0, 27-7, they're not going to need to score, right? But on the other hand, Buffalo's offensive guys are going to want to get some stats padded for their bonus checks, and this is a game to do it. So I like them to hit their number. There's my picks in the primary pool. Right now, I'm going Jacksonville on the Rams. If I feel it's too risky and I get a little scared, I may flip it to Kansas City. And if I don't do it by Thursday, you can see I may switch to Buffalo on the one. But right now, I'm going Jacksonville on the Rams. I feel pretty good about both of those. Really appreciate you being here. Hope you like the show. Please like us and subscribe to us. Hit me up in that Mid-Year Survivor if you're interested. Thank you to CooperGroup.com for being our sponsor. Check out their baseball ads, drumsticks, golf scripts. This has been week number 6. Pick winners with the Cheezeman, NFL Survivor. Good luck and hope you survive.